Joe Cerrone, working on our bench vise assembly. As you recall, we're working on this project, and the project is to create an assembly drawing. And let's take a look at the outline. And so we're going to model each of the parts. We're going to create an assembly model of the vise, and then we're going to create an assembly drawing with an exploded view and a bill of material. That's it, 1, 2, 3. If you would like the files printed, just note it, because it will take a while to print those and use quite a bit of material. And it's yours if you like it. So they make a great desktop companion. So these 3 things: model the parts, create the assembly model, and create the assembly drawing. So let's take a look at the drawing itself. We've gone over these individual parts and how to model them. And then last week I went through and created a video on how to assemble the parts. And so as we look at Solidworks, let me see if I can bring this onto the screen. This is where we left off our assembly last week. And so we have this assembly that we created from all the different components with our different mates. And so we can open and close that. And then we have all the mates so that we have our fasteners in, we have our ball globes, we have our fasteners in the bottom, and everything is pretty well set up from a fundamental level. Now, the second part of this would be to create an assembly. And so as we look at this, I'm going to go and grab an assembly view, an isometric view. And that way I have a good frame of reference as to where that part is going to be. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the exploded view, and I'm going to say exploded view. And what this will do is it will put me into the exploded view detail here. And so I'm going to start off by selecting the components that I want to move. And so I'm going to select the bar globes and this jack screw. And then I'm going to take off the auto space components. I'm not really ready to use that at this point because it'll start to spread everything out. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to pull on one of these axes and pull these parts out. All right. And so that's the first step. And then I can say done. And then I can create a next step. And for my next step, what I can do is I can click on other components. And so I'm going to click on these 2 components. I think I got them both. I'm not sure. There we go. And then I'm going to bring this up. And I'm going to back down a little bit, bring this up a little bit more. Great. And I'm going to say done with that. And then I'm going to bring the other components. And I was going to bring them down, but I think I will, yeah, let's bring those down. So we'll select these components. We'll bring these down. And then we can separate these other components as we start to work with it. So we can kind of start to follow how it goes together. I don't know if we need to explode this part here, but we might as well. So let's go with this last components. And let's just move these up. And we'll take these off. That might be a little glitchy on the video, but everything else looks fine. And let's get these last components. Got to remember to get the fasteners with them. And lastly, and I guess we'll just have to go about there. Okay. So that explodes our components. And then the next thing we'll do is we'll go ahead and accept this. We'll green check mark it. And so this is our exploded assembly. And we can go and we can collapse the items. We can go here to our detail and we can right click on it. And we can, let's see, maybe it's this other one here. So we can go and collapse the items. Let me pause the video for a second and see what's my glitch. I think I need to collapse the items right here from the main menu. Yeah, that's it. And so we can collapse the items. And then what we want to do, we'll save this file. We'll rebuild the parts. And I'll just keep the name the same. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create an exploded assembly drawing. And drawings are really a great part of this program. I wish we had spent more time on the actual detailed drawing component aspect of it. But it's not that difficult either as you start to go through it. And the way we're going to create an exploded assembly is we're going to go make drawing from part or assembly. And so we'll select that. I want you to use a B-size landscape. And once we have that started, what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our current view. Now, you could bring in front, top, right side views and all that, but I just want to have one view that we bring in. And so we're going to bring in this view right here, like that. And then I'm going to change the scale of it, make it bigger. So let's go with a custom scale and let's see if we can fit it in there on full scale. And that looks good. And then I'm going to show that in a display state like that. I'm going to green check mark it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to show that in exploded view. And so I'm going to go into the properties and I'm going to go and show an exploded view. And I'm going to say, okay. And I'm going to have to adjust this window a little bit. Like that. And I'm going to need to adjust the scale. This didn't turn out exactly the way I was hoping it would, but I'm sure I can make that work. And so looks like we'll have to go with a smaller scale. There we are. So here's my exploded view, and this looks fine. And so I'm going to green check mark it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the annotations to it. And so what we want to do is we want to go and create a table. And so on the annotation tab, we're going to select tables, and we're going to create a bill of materials table. We'll green check mark this. And what it'll do is it'll go out and find all our details, and then it will number them for us based on how we assembled it. And so we're going to put this in the top corner. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add balloons that will then relate to those different items. And so what we'll do is we'll select balloon. And then we can start with our base vise. And then we'll go to the next component. And try to space things out neatly. What I used to teach with a pencil up at NIU, the idea was to kind of create like a starburst effect where your eye kind of follows the details as they go around it. This is going to be the same. There is a way to have multiple arrows to one number. We can look that up at another point. All right. And so this illustrates how to create the detailed drawing, the exploded assembly, and the bill of materials. We'll green check mark this. And then we need to be able to put our name onto the drawing. And the way that we do that is that they have these called sheet formats. And it's kind of like a layering system, almost like AutoCAD works with, where these parts are linked. So if I do make any changes to any of the fasteners or anything here, they will update in the assembly drawing. But from a standpoint of the title block, the way you would access that would be to right click on sheet format and say edit sheet format. And then what you can do is you can double click in these different areas and you can then add the title block information. So I can put Oakton College there. The title will be bench vise. And then as we go through, I want it to be drawn by me. And that's adequate. We can hit the check mark here to end the editing of the title block. We can save this drawing. And we'll save this as bench vise assembly drawing. And I don't have to write the word drawing on it. The file extension will have a solid draw extension. And so as you go through and you create part models, you create assemblies, and then you create part drawings. All right, and so that is how module 10 is to look at the end of it, basically an assembly drawing. One last thing that I did want to mention is that you want to make sure that in your bench vise assembly, when you turn that in, you're going to use the pack and zip program. And so let's see here where that is. So it's called Pack and Go, and it's located right here in Pack and Go. And you'll do this for your drawing. So we'll say Pack and Go. And what you're going to want to do is save the file to a zip file. And then you can browse, where you want to put that. Okay. And then you can call it, Lab 10. I recommend, I've been doing it with this format since the 90s when I worked for College of Lake County, your initials and then the lab number. And this will go out, it will put all the parts into the zip file and create a zip folder for those files. So if we look at that, and then we take a look in there. Well, actually, it's right here. It should be. Let's see. Well, I think you get the idea. So as we go through, this will create a zip file of all your components. And then what you'll do is you'll turn in that zip file. If we go to the assembly right here, go to assignments, and then under module 10, and it's a good thing I checked here because I will need to add that. All right, and so this will be, let's just leave it without any of that other information on it. Now I'll add that as I get a chance to do that. And so what you'll do is you'll turn that into our module 10, make it visible. And I'll link that to the gradebook. All right, so back to SolidWorks. Back to our assembly. Here's our assembly drawing. And that completes how to create the assembly drawing for module